Brave firefighters raising the American flag above the rubble following the attacks on the World Trade Center 15 years ago. That flag, tattered and torn, became a symbol of resilience and resolve after that fateful day. But according to a new documentary, it was later discovered that the flag traveling the nation representing Ground Zero was not, in fact, that Ground Zero flag. The original had been lost, and no one knew it. The night of September 11th, it went missing, never to be seen again until now. For more on this, we welcome in History Channel host and best-selling author Brad Meltzer, who is the author of the new children's book entitled I Am George Washington. Brad, as always, we appreciate your time on Newsmax Prime. And tell me just what exactly happened to that flag hoisted above the ruins at Ground Zero on 9/11.
Sure, and always good to see you too. We all know that image, right? The firefighters raising that flag when we needed it most. And what few people realize is the flag went missing. And I became obsessed with the story. We did a show called Lost History on the History Channel that ran. And at the end of the episode, I said, America, someone out there knows where this flag is. Please help us get it back. We'll give you a $10,000 reward if you do. And what no one knows also, and we've been keeping a secret for almost 2 years now, is that 4 days later, a former Marine walks into a fire station in Washington State, in Everett, Washington, and says, I saw the show Lost History, and this is the 9/11 flag, and I want to bring it back. And for the better part of 2 years now, we've been working with investigators, authenticating this flag, making sure it's the real one. We recently announced it is indeed the real 9/11 flag. All of it culminates this weekend on Sunday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the History Channel, where we show you all the steps we had and all the investigation. And we did the 9/11 flag rise from the ashes at 10:30 p.m. And I promise you, watch it with your kids too, because you'll see that it is proof. When you see these firefighters and the first responders, it's proof that heroes still exist today.
Well, I will tell you, at the Hayworth Hacienda, my bride, Miss Mary, when she found out about this program and she found out what happened to that first flag, it's guaranteed she is going to be in the audience, and I will be there with her. And obviously, you tell the story in the program that will air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on 9/11. But what can you tell us now briefly about the steps that had to be taken to make sure this was, in fact, the 9/11 flag?
Sure, and listen, to authenticate it, you need forensic evidence. You want eyewitness if someone knows this particular flag, and also photographic evidence. You're going to do analysis of that too. And we had our investigator was the former head of the FBI's Art Crimes Unit, and the other investigators who did dust samples. The forensic is actually the easy part, because the dust samples from 9/11 from Ground Zero are a fingerprint, is how he explained it to me. He said it's not just pieces of crumbled buildings, but in that dust is also jet fuel and human remains. And as a result, he said, Brad, to recreate the dust from Ground Zero, you'd have to recreate Ground Zero. So that tells us immediately it's, of course, a flag from Ground Zero. The question is it the flag from Ground Zero? And you'll see on the episode that's where we get lucky, because it comes down to the halyard, which are the clips and the ropes that you use to raise that flag. And you have to see the videos, and you'll see it firsthand as we do, that the clips there have something about them that, you know, we just got an amazing, amazing match there. One that has details that no one can possibly make up.
Brad, among the experts you consulted, Nicholas Petracco, a retired New York City Police Department forensic expert. Let's listen to what he had to say and discuss more fully after we hear this.
I found that all the components that I saw in dust samples from the first building going down, second building going down, were in fact in these samples from the flag.
And so you hear the scientific portion of the forensic evidence, but emotionally, for those hunting down and authenticating this flag, I would imagine this was a roller coaster ride up and down, and ultimately, Brad, a very cathartic experience.
For all of us, I was with them yesterday, all of us, the investigators in Everett, including the members of the History Channel who did such amazing work, and Left, Right, our producers, we were all there yesterday as we unveiled the flag finally at the 9/11 Museum. And when I spoke about it, because they were asking me, you know, what does it feel to unveil this? I said, you know, flags are symbols, and they're symbols of power, but they're also symbols of hope, and they're symbols of us. But this flag in particular is also a mirror. And when you look at it, you see what you need. And that's what happened on that day in 9/11. When we were kicked down and felt so low, we looked at this photograph of these firefighters and this flag, and we saw as a country what we needed so badly. And I can tell you emotionally, just for myself, it was so incredible to be there yesterday, because I think for all of us, we steeled ourselves. You didn't want to believe it was real, because if we thought it was real and we found that it wasn't, it would have been heartbreaking. And don't forget, we didn't have the show anymore. So many of us were just working on it for not a TV show or not anything else. It was just a mission, a personal mission to bring this thing back.
You know, you look back at our history, Brad, and you're no stranger to it. In fact, you acquaint us with a variety of different occurrences and help us better understand things. That is your gift as an author and historian. But I think the most iconic images of our flag, the Marines at Iwo Jima, that is now the Marine Memorial in Washington, D.C., and of course, this scene that we saw to begin the segment, the flag raising over the rubble of 9/11, memorialized now on a postage service stamp, and now the flag has been found. In about the minute that remains, I'm curious, the Marine who showed up in Everett, Washington, with this flag, were there any concerns? There's no way to sugarcoat this. Was there some nefarious intent, or was this just grabbing a symbol? What exactly happened to bring the flag way out to Washington State and Everett?
You know, and here's the thing. He never left his last name. He didn't want to be identified. And there are some people who will, of course, say, oh, it was a nefarious reason. But here's my theory. And no one knows the answer, because, you know, we get to solve one mystery and another one kind of takes its place. And he said he got it from someone who was a widow at Ground Zero. And some people will say, oh, why'd you take it? But here's the thing you have to remember. The flag, when it was taken, wasn't famous. It wasn't famous until 2 days later when the photograph goes. And the reason I think he was trying to do the right thing, beyond us asking for it, is he never took our reward. This former Marine never said, I want the money. He brought it back for that reason. And to me, I want to say thank you to him, and it lets us be able to say to that flag, welcome home.
And indeed, Brad, it is a story that, like 9/11, takes us through this emotional roller coaster, concern, at times despair, but ultimately triumph and a sense of resilience, which is what we saw with that iconic image above the rubble at 9/11. Again, Brad, we thank you for your time, and a reminder, you can watch America's 9/11 flag rise from the ashes Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time on History Channel. Brad, thank you so much for making time for us.